In this video, I'm gonna help you get unstuck, but I'm also gonna help you understand why you feel so stuck, why you feel kind of lost, why you don't know what your purpose is, why you feel like you can't find the right relationship for yourself, why you're so indecisive and you feel like you can't decide anything for your life, and maybe you don't even know your own preferences. I know a lot about this and I've been there, and I can promise you by the end of this video, you will understand why you're like this, why based on your childhood you became this way, and also what you can start doing now to start feeling less lost and be more on your aligned path, be doing what you truly love and what you really want to do. My name's Grace and I'm a life coach and content creator. If you like videos like this, feel free to subscribe. Everything I make here is stuff that I've lived through myself and I've learned how to overcome. And especially this one, I can really relate with that feeling of being lost, not knowing what to do next, and feeling like I'm constantly going back to this feeling of being stuck. So to understand this, we have to go back to our childhood. We have to go back to the ages, literally from even before you're born until around the age of 6, let's say. So if you can just imagine that period of your life right now, right? When you're born, you're considered a whole person, right? If you've ever looked at a baby, you see that they're so authentic. They don't question what they're interested in. They don't even, they're not unsure about what they want to see next or who they want to look at for a long time, right? They just do it. And there's something incredibly magnetic about that. And I'll tell you, this is just a little aside, but the reason it's magnetic is because they are a whole person. They're actually an expression of the authentic source energy, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. They are internally and externally congruent as a kid. And it's actually a state that we all subconsciously desire to get back to. So if kids are like that, what happens, right? Well, depending on their society, their attachment figures, their friends, their parents, as they're being their authentic self, certain aspects of their authentic self will start either not getting noticed or maybe even getting punished, right? And I feel like there's two sections to this. One are their emotions, okay? So let's say the kid shows some frustration or anger, but they have a family or an attachment figure, people around them that are uncomfortable with anger. And it feels like there's no space for it, right? So the attachment figure, let's say, maybe dismisses them. They just ignore, right? Or they actively get angry at the kid for being angry, right? So all of a sudden, this kid who was showing their authentic emotion of frustration and anger that was valid and actually really healthy is now attributing it to, okay, I can't show this emotion, otherwise it is unsafe and I basically won't survive. And so what happens from that moment forward, if this happens many times, is eventually that authentic emotion, that thing that might have been beneficial for that kid in the future as an adult in a healthy way, now gets repressed, okay? And when emotions get repressed, they live in the body, okay? And they dictate our actions and all that type of stuff in the future. I'll maybe explain all of that more in another video, but that's kind of beyond this video. Okay, so what also happens, so that happens with your emotions, okay? That can happen with anger, that can happen with joy. If you're a joyful kid, but you're in an environment that doesn't appreciate joy, then that can get repressed as well. And so that can happen with emotions, okay? But it can also happen with your behaviors or aspects of your personality, okay? And it can happen with bad aspects of your personality, like if you're stealing or lying or whatever it is. But it can also happen with positive aspects of your personality. And this is what shapes who you act as an adult. So, for example, let's say that as a kid, you're just authentically drawn to being an artist, drawing, right? And you just love to do it spontaneously. And if you just pursued that, you might even become an unbelievable artist, and maybe you could even do it full time as a passion, all this type of stuff. But let's say your parents, they don't value art, or they don't think it's interesting, or they don't think it's practical to get a job, or whatever. Or they're too stressed to notice, right? And every time you go to show them something, they're too busy, or they don't think it's impressive because they'd rather see how well you did on your exams, whatever it is. When you have that happen, you basically internalize the message that this isn't valuable, right? This thing won't help me survive in this world. And so that drawing aspect that's authentic to you, you end up putting into your psychological shadow. And over time, you might not even forget that you used to draw a lot. And that's where it starts going into our unconscious shadow as well. Okay? So over time, you end up just expressing the aspects of your personality that the people around you valued, not that you authentically valued. And by the way, this is amazing because this is how we survive. This is how humans are so dynamic and can survive in pretty much any circumstances, is our ability to adapt. So we can be grateful, but it contributes to us feeling lost. So the question is, how does this contribute to us feeling lost? Well, basically, if we continue to do this, if we continue to just do things that were valued by our parents or valued by society, and we have all these repressed aspects of ourselves and stuck emotions, it's gonna be really, really hard to actually know what our authentic self wants to do until we start peeling back all of those layers, right? Like, let's say your parents just reinforce that you should go to school, get a good job, do well in society. And let's say you do all those things, or you do pretty well, right? But you still just feel kind of lost. You don't feel fulfilled, and you're like, kind of like, what the hell? Because you're fulfilling the blueprint. You're fulfilling what your child thought you needed, but it's what you needed enough to survive. But now that you're an adult and you are surviving, your soul is demanding and wanting you to thrive and go to that kind of next level of expressing parts of your authentic self, okay? And so the way that you can do this is, the way to basically get unstuck and feel less lost, okay, is twofold, right? One is the emotional front. So when we feel stuck, when we can't go forward in life, and I know this from my coaching practice, a lot of the time it's because we have unfelt emotions in our body. We maybe work all the time to avoid our sadness. We maybe distract ourselves to avoid our frustration or our anger. And these emotions stay bottled up within us. And actually, until we notice these emotions, until we pay attention to where they are in the body, how they feel, we won't be able to progress in life. They'll actually, in the background, basically be sabotaging us. So one thing you can do is to start feeling those emotions, start processing those past memories. And that's too much to go into in this video. I'll have other videos on that. But start processing some of those past memories so that you can free up some space in the present moment. Because if you have stuck emotions and energy from the past, it's like if you imagine a jar is your capacity, right? If you have stuck emotions and all that type of stuff, your jar is almost full. You're not gonna have a lot of jar or emotional capacity in the present moment to be able to live life, to be able to be aware of what you even want to do. Okay, so you have to go back, you have to process those memories. And I know that that's not easy, but it's actually surprisingly simple to do. So there's that, okay? Then the second one is the actual more behavioral side, right? So this is about uncovering aspects of your authentic self that you just love doing, right? And one good way to do this is to pay attention to what expands you, what energizes you, what keeps you kind of neutral emotionally, and what kind of depletes you, okay? So let's say you go to your job or you go to some sort of work or whatever you're doing right now, and if you feel depleted every time you go, that's probably a sign that this isn't the path for you, okay? So I challenge you to do that for a week right now. Make a list of what expands me, what am I kind of neutral after, how is my energy, and what do I feel depleted after? And you can do this for friendships as well. And if you just continue to follow the things that expand you more, that make you feel more alive, that's you getting closer to your authentic self. Now, you might be asking, well, I don't feel like there's anything that expands me, okay? And what I'd say there is then start with the emotions, the stuck emotions. There's a good chance then that you have some stuck emotions. You have some sadness, depression, anger, whatever to integrate. But the second thing I'd say is sometimes you won't have things that expand you and excite you. And that's because you've been doing things that aren't authentically you for so long, right? So that's okay. Sometimes what you can do in that situation, if you have nothing, is just start cutting away. Cut away the things that deplete you the most. Just start creating empty space in your life, okay? And that might feel uncomfortable, especially for someone who's used to doing things all the time. To create empty space, it might feel pointless, but it's not pointless because you need that empty space in order for new things to come in that are more aligned, right? So I would recommend that. And I'd actually recommend that for everyone. Continue this process. It is iterative. It can go on forever, and it will probably also never be perfect. Continue this process and watch your life transform. Comment below anything you found helpful in this video, any other questions that you have, and subscribe and follow along if you'd like content like this, because I'll be making more videos. Thank you.